so bear with me. I'll try and run this well. For the record, it is Tuesday, January 2nd at 6 o'clock. We'll start with roll call attendance. Mr. Clerk.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Cavanagh.
Here.
Councilmember Mylum.
Here.
Councilmember Palmer.
Here.
Councilmember Borton.
Here.
Councilmember Byrd.
Here.
Mayor DeVeard.
Here.
And Councilmember Little Roberts is absent.
Item number 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you will all rise and join us in the pledge to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is our community invocation. Tonight will be led by Pastor Michael Pearson with the Seventh-day Adventist Church. If you will all join us in the community invocation or take this as an opportunity for a moment of reflection. Thank you for joining us.
Eternal Father, we have stepped into a new year, and only you know what lies before us. And so we pause this evening to ask that you will lift our hearts and our thoughts to you, that you will be the one to guide this council, this city, this state, and the United States of America, and that you'll give us the grace to discover the best in each other in this meeting and each meeting to be held this year, that we may forge a better city. We ask this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Item number 4 is adoption of the agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
on the agenda, I don't see anything jumps out at us, so I would move that we approve the agenda as published.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as published. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Item 5.
There were no signups, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Item 6 is our consent agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we approve the consent agenda as published and for the mayor to sign, the clerk to attest.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes. There were no items moved from the consent agenda, so we'll move under 8A, which is our update from the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. Hi, Alicia.
Good evening. I gotta figure out how to work this. Okay. So first, I would like to start off with what we did December 1st, which was the Parade of Lights. We passed out candy, stood beside the mayor's float, walked through downtown Meridian. It was great seeing all the smiles. One special thing that happened was at the very end, this lady was standing on the corner giving us hot chocolate at the end, which was very rewarding, along with seeing smiles. Thursday, December 5th, we decorated the mayor's office Christmas tree, which was amazing. We had kids from each subcommittee come in and help. We had snacks at the end. It was, yeah.
And I must say that it looks better than it ever has. So.
Oh, thank you. So our PB Expo, which was Monday, December 11th, we had 3 subjects put in. We had the Pavagen Kinetic Energy Tiles, the flags for Idaho's ethnicity, and the Community Street Art Center. We are, excuse me one second. Sorry. So MIAC is going to take a step back to help develop the why statement for the projects. We will be focusing on what problems the projects will solve and why it is important for Meridian teens and the community. Rather than having an individual work independently on a project, MIAC will provide additional support to the idea and see it through as a group. Therefore, we are going to have all of MIAC help have a project rather than each individual make their own. Saturday, December 16th, we had the executive Christmas party at the mayor's house, which was amazing, and we all got to know each other deeper and more as a group. And Monday, December 18th, we had our awesome MIAC Christmas party, which turned out excellent. We had our ugly sweater competition. We had the MIAC gift exchange. We played mini games. And overall, it was just mind-blowing. So through November and December, MIAC was collecting socks for our sock drive. The overall total was 222 pairs of socks. Community service had outstanding numbers with 121. Each subcommittee did donate with amazing numbers, and it was honestly more than I ever thought we could do. Teen activities with 29 socks and government affairs with 72. Our overall numbers were amazing. Lastly, I would like to introduce another person in our executive council, Jared Gonzalez, to talk about his position.
Hi, Jared. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening. So I'm Jared Gonzalez. I'm the communications coordinator. So what that entails is getting the word out to all MIAC members and sometimes even members of the community to come to the meetings, come to our events. So that includes like running the Facebook page. We have a remind system where we send text messages before all meetings and events. And so I send those out and try to get the word out and try to get everyone involved. And that's my position. And I would like to thank you for listening to our presentation. And Mr. Byrd, I've talked to you a few times, and thank you for your service on the city council and helping, and all of you helping with the youth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Jared. If I have no further words.
Council, do you have any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
you young folks, just keep up the good work. It's so highly appreciated in this community. You guys are very, very important in this community to us, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much for all your time and effort.
Thank you. We really enjoy having the city council be able to let us be a part in working with the community and giving us the opportunities and chances to get our voices out. As young as we are, I never would have thought that we could play such big roles in our city. So I would like to thank each and every one of you for letting us be a part of that.
Thank you, Alicia. Mr. Kavner.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Alicia, Jared, I just was curious, maybe you would share with each of us your favorite part about the Youth Council and what attracted you to it and what your favorite part of it is right now.
All right, so I joined as a freshman, and I'm a junior right now. So I've always been fascinated with helping the community and making a change. And honestly, what kept me here was in MIAC was that it's a lot of fun. You're surrounded by friends, and you're getting things done and learning a lot about the city and government. So that's what I like about MIAC.
So I joined as a sophomore. I am a sophomore currently. And just coming from that, I didn't really think this was possible. I come from a state where we don't have opportunities like this. So me being able to have ideas and let people in my community know what they are, and also helping other people that probably did not have any idea that this was a thing, be aware that they can have their voices heard too. And really communicate with their city. That's why I joined, because I value that.
Okay. Thank you both for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Okay, council item number 8B is Resolution 18-2054. It's appointing Lisa Holland to the Planning and Zoning Commission, appointing David McKinney to the Transportation Commission, and the assorted or related starting date. So I would open for any questions. And I see that Mr. McKinney is here in the audience, and so I always allow comment after the appointment, so you can't back out before we actually do it. There is madness to my methods. Council, any questions? It's always a nice problem to have when you have a lot of qualified candidates, and we have a lot of interested citizens.
Great.
Okay, if there are no questions, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum.
I move that we approve resolution number 18-2054.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 18-2054. If there's no discussion, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Mr. McKinney, would you like to make any comment? Congratulations. We look forward to having your involvement on our commission.
Thank you.
Item 8B2 is Resolution 18-2055. Council, I stand for any questions. And I will note that this is kind of the end of a chapter. Jean Strait has served as the representative for the Realtors Association for a number of years. And he felt that his time was up, and he was looking forward to moving on. And so this is an appointment recommended by the Association of Realtors, and I would stand for any questions.
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum.
I move that we approve resolution number 18-2055.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 18-2055. If there's no questions, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 8C is under our police department, and I'll ask the chief to come and kick off this discussion.
Madam Mayor, Council, thank you for the time today. Happy New Year. I know that last time I gave this presentation, we had a few glazed looks, and so I kind of modified it a little bit. But I'm not sure my council liaison trusted me. I see that she's absent today, so you'll have to endure it. I promise to keep this pretty
She's
simple
somewhere
today.
warm.
She is in Arizona, so it's definitely someplace a little much warmer than us. For the past couple of years, we've been talking about a staffing model for the police department. 2 years ago, we did it internally. Last year, we had a consultant come in and validate our work, looking for a methodology that we could wrap our minds around and project the staffing levels that we would need for the city based upon a whole bunch of different factors. The main purpose of that was to maintain our current levels of service or to improve our levels of service, but never to lose what we got. As you know, the city has grown quite rapidly, and it's been a struggle trying to keep up for us, and we don't want to lose the great service that we provide our citizens. Our community expectations do roll around the quality of life, the feeling of safety, and the quick response time they can get from their police department. And so that's the whole purpose of coming up with a methodology that we all could understand. Now, under the strategic plan, we have an objective that lists us as wanting to be the safest city in Idaho. The good news is, when I reported to you last time, we were at 13. Bad news is we're at 6, so we still have a ways to go. But that can go either up or down, depending on what we do with the staffing levels. So today's request is pretty simple. We're seeking approval of the methodology that we adopted and presented to you a number of different times. Our goal is to update the data every December and then come back to you at the budget workshops and discuss the outcomes. So today we're not asking you to approve any positions, not asking you to approve any outcomes. All we're asking you to do is to recognize the methodology. But before I do that, I do have, and Councilor Berta asked me, I have 5 slides to go through real quick. So just wanted to remind you that the patrol allocation model, which is PAM model, that we had chosen was the most conservative of the options that we had, other than doing nothing at all. One of the questions that Councilman Kavanagh asked me about a year ago was there any agencies that were also looking at this? Well, this is an adopted model that's been around since the 70s, and Boise Police, although they didn't remember it, Boise Police was a part of the research project when they first put this model together. So when I presented it to the Boise chief, the current Boise chief, he said, "Really?" And I said, "Take a look at what we've done." And they have also adopted this model. Garden City has also expressed interest in this model. And other agencies within the state have also asked for our research that we've done. So it is being adopted. It is also a model that is taught at the Police Staffing Command that is accredited through the Northwestern University. And the reason why I bring that up is that we have 3 lieutenants that will be attending the Police Staffing Command School, a 10-week school that starts in Nampa next week. So they will also get exposure to this model as well. But the reason why we chose this model is you have up to 20 different inputs that you can incorporate. We have workload requirements that we put in there. We have personal policies. The personal policies are how many vacation days officers are granted based upon city policy, how many training hours are officers away for, so we can actually compute how long they're on the road, how long they're off the road in training, performance objectives, and roadway characteristics. Now, without getting into too many factors, we had presented a couple different slides with a whole bunch of numbers on them. And I have a presentation, my presentation that I'm giving today, we're going to hand out in just a minute. There's 3 slides on here that we're not going to go in depth on, but they're merely so you can look at the numbers and compare them back to some of the previous workbooks I've given you. So you can see where we come up with the numbers. It lists miles of roadways, speeds of those roadways and such. Those are some of the inputs we're talking about. And then the output that we get is how many officers and traffic patrol officers and traffic officers they estimate are going to be needed to patrol this city. So the assumption we made 2 years ago was that we would have an officer in a neighborhood without being called at least once a week. And to do that, you'll see that number at the bottom, based upon current calls for service, population, miles covered, it takes 82 officers. Now, the good news is that just happens to calculate into how many officers that you approved last year. So when you look at the appropriated numbers that we are currently have in the police department versus how many the model expects, it comes out at 82. So we're good to go. Some of the discussions we've had over the years is what would it take if we wanted officers in the neighborhoods more often? And so the next two slides I'm going to show you has those answers. Not saying that's what we're asking for, not saying that's what we're going to do. It's just showing that it's something to consider in the future. If someone says, hey, we want more officers in our neighborhoods more often, it does come with a cost. But it's not quite as alarming as you think it might be. I hear those chuckles out there. So it would take an additional 3 officers to cover the neighborhoods 2 times a week. And it would take a total of 88 officers for 3 times a week. So that's all I'm going to touch on those slides. And then I want to remind you that I did say that we had considered three models, the PAM model being the most conservative. You're going to see the 3 models that we considered previously, the PAM model, the COPS model, and the benchmark cities model. And you're going to see the pros and the cons of all on there. And you're going to see why we chose the PAM model. We believe that it gives us the most specific answer to our needs here in Meridian, because it's based upon calls for service, workloads, size of the city. It's not a guess. It's not a, hey, this agency has this many, we need this many. It is based upon true facts. And that is, I think I jumped ahead one, but that's the conclusion that I have. So to wrap up, we're asking that you recognize the methodology that we use. If you want us to use another model, we can do that. I did jump ahead on the one slide. The one slide does show, if we do use those other models, how many additional officers it would take. Second to the last slide, CJ, if you could do that for me. One more. Oh, it's okay, back one. It's at the top of the page. It was on there. So year 2020, based upon the population estimates that we have currently, 88 officers on the PAM model, 115 officers on the COPS model, 120 officers on the benchmark cities. So I will use any of those models you want me to, but I chose the most conservative one. So that is the conclusion of our presentation, and I will answer any questions that you have. And I didn't get any glazed looks this time, so I wasn't got too far in the weeds. I know that Councilman Borton had asked for this information before, and he didn't show up on me at the last presentation, though.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Palmer.
Madam Mayor, Chief, is there a interactive calculator where you can just play with this?
Yes.
Where I could play with this?
No.
Okay.
Or I could play with it if I do what I was doing, but I have actually people to do it for me. If you have suggestions, I can plug those in and bring those back to you.
Madam Mayor, I liked the numbers, and especially the 3 scenarios that you presented. I think that was the most important factor to me in how that would affect the change. Really, I just like calculators, so I had to ask.
They don't want to even let me play with it, so. Just to refresh on arterials, collectors, and local roadways. If you look on those 3 slides, it'll list how many arterials are out there, miles, how many collectors are out there, and how many local roadways are out there. And that arterials are covered every 2 hours currently. If you want it to be less or more, we could plug those figures in there. If you want, and collectors are covered 2 times a week currently. If you wanted it less or more, we could plug those figures in there. And then if you wanted local roadways covered, I've already given you the 3 options. We can't change populations, we can't change miles of roadways, we can't change speeds of roadways, so those are the areas that we would not be able to impact.
So on the arterials, we cover them every 2 hours. On the collectors, twice a week.
And on the local roads, once a week.
Once a week.
That's based upon what we presented to council, what you approved, and what we currently operate under. Madam Mayor, that is correct.
And the staffing then, we are at 81.5.
I haven't figured out how to do that half yet, so we're at 82. Yeah.
Council,
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Kavner.
a couple of questions. Chief, what model does the Ada County Sheriff's Department use? And do we have any data about what type of patrol they do within Meridian?
The consultant that we used was an employee at the Ada County Sheriff's Office and actually had prepared this work for them as well. I can tell you that much. As far as she doesn't work for the Sheriff's Office anymore.
Right.
So I can't answer that second part of that. I could sure find that out. I have a meeting with Sheriff Bartlett coming up. I could ask.
Madam Mayor, and just to follow up, Chief, I appreciate this report and the conversation we had a few months ago. I went out and started soliciting some feedback. I'm fortunate enough to have a little bit of a subject matter expert on what the city of Boise used to do, and appreciate you bringing that and kind of circling back with me on this. I had some hesitations when we talked about this a few months ago, but I feel a lot better about it today, and appreciate you bringing this back to us.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borton.
one of the questions that we had discussed a while back was on kind of the chicken or the egg issue that I think still exists is it most appropriate to identify and adopt those particular levels of service? Whether it was, percentage of time in neighborhoods or the initial report showed some of those potential levels of service, and then staff accordingly to meet them or maintain them. If that's not been done, is that more appropriate to do first?
I think that is why this was brought back by the request of council to really consider what that level of service, if what we're currently doing today with the local roadways at one time per week is if
Right.
council's comfortable with that, is that an acceptable level of service? And then they can start showing better benchmarks to that. And
Yeah, Madam Mayor, that's the bottom line is, are you comfortable with what you currently have? And if you are, you already know what you have. If you want something more, then it's going to take more, and we can get you what those numbers are. You're the one that has to answer to the citizens. I can't answer that question.
Sure. Yeah, Madam Mayor, that was I apologize, the confusion I had was, is it a request to not only really adopt the model, but also make a statement today to memorialize a level of service as one time per week in each, et cetera? That would be the now established level of service that we will maintain going forward. Or I'm looking for that measurable, objective benchmark that we know we can then determine whether or not we're hitting. And I recall that initial report having different types of measurements that we could utilize.
Council Warden, sorry, I don't think I can answer that. My subject matter experts aren't here. I don't recall the measurables being different. I do know that we're having a meeting, I believe this Thursday, on that topic of measurables, where we're bringing in the strategic analyst into the police department to our crime analyst to discuss those measurables, incorporate those into the strategic plan. So we'll see where that leads us as well. But that's going on behind the scenes, but I don't recall what those measurables are that you're referring to.
I think, Mr. Borton, once that level of service is decided from council, this is something that can come back, and what some of those benchmarks or measurements can be based on. At some point, then you can use that and say, well, we'd like to see enhanced service, and then you would know what financially that would mean as well.
Madam Mayor, just to top on top of that, talking with our people that actually do the model, that's really what we'd like to do. Is every November we come in and do a strategic planning update, and we'd like to give that to you based upon where we're at. Get feedback from that, apply that in December to update the model, and then bring that back into our budget workshop discussions as we work on the the budget for the following year. That's really what we'd like to do. That's what we plan on doing. But if that's not what you want, then you can sure tell us that. But that's currently what our plan is to continue to do the strategic update in November, update the figures that we have in December so we can talk about them, and then have those figures for the budget workshop discussions every year. Then I'll ask for.
They kind of did bring this into the budget workshop to bring it to this first number that you see with the 1 time per week.
I was gonna say, I've just never got any feedback from council to say, yep, this looks good, go for it, do this, or we want this, or we want this. And that's what I'm looking for, some direction.
As to the model, utilizing the model itself to create and then monitor whatever level of service we choose. Is that correct? The
Correct.
level of service decision isn't made today. It's let's pick this model to create and to monitor it going forward.
Madam Mayor, Council Board, and that's correct.
Okay. All right. I took it like perhaps there's an adoption of an actual level of service with this model as part of today's discussion as well, but that doesn't sound like that's the case.
That is not the case. All we're looking at is adoption of the model.
Gotcha.
I'm listening to the feedback I'm hearing from the group, and then we can go in and plug those numbers in to the model. I just threw out those 1 time, 2 time, 3 time in the neighborhood to answer the, well, what if we did this, or what if we did that? But the whole way that we come up with some of the assumptions that we did is command staff sat in a room and said, well, what happens if we change this or change that? It's kind of what Councilman Palmer was talking about. Can I go in and manipulate those numbers? Well, we couldn't, but we had staff that could. And so they would change the numbers, and then we would see how it flows back and forth.
Madam Mayor.
Ms. Milam.
Chief, so these projections are obviously easily going to be changed based on the crimes. If crime keeps going up, population, which you said these are based on the projected growth. Also, if some new technology comes about that allows reporting to be faster, like numbers can go down, right? Those are all factors that we're.
Madam Mayor, Councilman Milam, yes, as far as there are some factors that can change it, there's some factors that will not change it unless you, for example, unless you de-annexed roadways, that would never change. The amount of roadways would not change. As far as cost of service, they plug in the cost of service for that previous year. So if the cost of service went down, then it would definitely go down. If other things happened, if you decided we don't want to train officers anymore and we're just wanting to work around the streets all the time, we cut off those training hours, then that would have an impact. It'd have a double impact, but we won't go into the other impact. So you can see how the numbers would change. But yeah, if the city grows really large, then that number is going to be higher. If the city stays stable or stagnant for some time, then that figure will never grow until the city starts growing again. And that's the nice thing about it, is you can change that anytime that you want. So I'm asking you to agree to the methodology, not to the actual outcomes. We can plug it in and play those what ifs all day long, and then I can give you what the answer is.
Thank you.
So tonight you're asking for the model, and will you then come back with what outcomes you will be tracking by using this model?
Well, right now, we're tracking the outcomes based upon that first slide. And if we want.
One time.
And that's 1 time in the neighborhoods. That's what we're tracking right now. So all the figures that we ever produce to you and show you, that's what they're based upon. If and Mayor, you and I can have a further discussion on community expectations and what we might want to recommend over the next month or so. I guess budget time's almost here.
Ooh, don't say that.
I know, it just dawned on me, though, we're January. We're already working on the budget. So just, I guess this would be a good time right now, too, is to just remind council that we had discussed previously the potential of looking at community service officers to do a level of lower level service that we don't necessarily need a police officer for, and then save the police officers for those higher risk things. Probably going to bring that to council for the budget workshops instead of asking for a number of additional officers. Of course, anything can change too.
Any other questions from council? I think there is a motion needed on this.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
before I make the motion, council, little word to the wise. Our police administration does a very, very good job at keeping us informed of what we need. And our citizens certainly have no problem writing letters. And most of them are very complimentary to our police department. So just use some good common sense on this and make sure that our boys in blue have the tools and the equipment to keep them safe out there. And with that, I would move that this council approves the PAM allocation model.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the PAM model. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Aye. Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes,
Thank you.
motion carried.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, item 9A is ordinance 18-1760. Mr. Clerk, will you please read this by title?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City of Meridian ordinance number 18-1760, an ordinance to amend the municipal code of the City of Meridian, County of Ada, State of Idaho, amending Title 10, Chapter 7, Section 12E2, Meridian City Code, known as the Meridian Impact Fee Ordinance Fee Schedule, to provide for an amendment to the police, fire, and parks and recreation impact fee schedules, and providing an effective date.
This is the first reading of this proposed ordinance. A public hearing will be held on the third reading on January 16th. Item 9B is ordinance 18-1761. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City of Meridian ordinance number 18-1761, an ordinance file number H 2017-0053, Pine 43, for annexation and rezone of parcels of land situated in the northwest quarter of Section 8, Township 3 North, Range 1 East, Boise, Meridian, Ada County, Idaho, as described in Attachment A, and annexing certain lands and territory situated in Ada County, Idaho, and adjacent and contiguous to the corporate limits of the City of Meridian as requested by the City of Meridian, establishing and determining the land use zoning classification of said lands from RUT to R15, Medium High Density Residential District, 0.07 acres, from CG, General Retail and Service Commercial, to R15, Medium High Density Residential District, 31.23 acres, and from CG, General Retail and Service Commercial, to R40, High Density Residential District, 27.48 acres, in the Meridian City Code, providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law, and providing for a summary of the ordinance, and providing for a waiver of the reading rules, and providing an effective date.
You've heard this read by title. Is there anyone who would like to hear it read in its entirety? It gets better. Seeing none?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
it is my honor to make my final motion. I move that we approve ordinance number 18-1761 with suspension of rules.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 9B. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 10A is the swearing in of our council members. We'll go seat by seat, and since seat number 2 doesn't have to have any parting remarks, we'll wait until after the swearing in and see if he has any new term remarks. So we'll have the clerk go down. If you'll join him at the podium. Yes, and if you brought your own Bible to do this with, that's great.
Put your left hand on the Bible. Yeah.
There we go. No. Are you ready? Okay, repeat after me. I, Joe Borton,
I, Joe Borton,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Idaho,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Idaho,
and the ordinances and policies of the City of Meridian, Idaho,
and the ordinances and policies of the City of Meridian, Idaho,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the Office of City Council of Meridian, Idaho,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the Office of City Council of Meridian, Idaho,
to the best of my ability during the continuance of my term.
to the best of my ability during the continuance of my term.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Mr. Borton, do you have any remarks you'd like to make?
Thank you. I guess I always start with thank you. The opportunity to serve is a gift and an awesome responsibility. I love to do it. There's lots of good work to be done. Serving the right way for the right reason is empowering and energizing, and I've got a lot of that energy with lots of good things to do for the city. So I just greatly appreciate the opportunity to continue to serve. I love this city, love its residents, and I'm excited to get to work.
Thank you. Item 10A2 is seat 4, and before we ask our new candidate to step up to take the oath, I will give Mr. Byrd an opportunity to say a few remarks.
I told Marge, I said, I don't think I'm going to be emotional, but it's been a great 20 years. I've got to serve with one tremendous bunch of people. We've got the greatest employees going. It's a city that two of us here has spent 20 years. We started 20 years ago running for the city council, and I luckily we got elected the first time. Tammy had to wait 2 years, but she might as well have been on with us. We've made our mistakes, but to be truthful with you, I think we've done one heck of a job to see this little community come from 9,000 people in 1990 to over 103. And I know that we're leaving it in good hands. These young kids have got their get up and go, and they're ready to go do it. And I know they'll do a great job for us. But I am truly going to miss this young lady next to me. We've sat by each other for 18 years, and you guys don't know what she's meant to me all these years. She has always been there to pick me up when I've been down. I thank you very much.
This is a tough one. I told you that at the beginning, but Mr. Bird and I had the opportunity to kind of find our way through first task force and then the creation of a Parks Commission. And he moved on to City Council, and I moved on to Planning and Zoning. And after that move, I was really grateful that I didn't hit City Council. But Keith Bird is a gift to this community. He really shows what a servant's heart looks like. I will take kind of a line out of Mr. Kavner's remarks last month is, he scared the crap out of me too. And you know what you did find is that he's a lot of bark sometimes, but it's always with good intent and only with the best in mind for this community. And we're better because of his involvement. So Keith Bird has left a legacy in this community. And I think it's going to be one of those that is unmatched. So it's an honor. And to Marge, thank you. He spent, yes. He spent a lot of times, a lot of long evenings away from home, and to Marge and his family. Thank you for lending him to us. I know it was kind of painless because it got him out of the house, but we greatly appreciate the gift that we know you alongside Keith gave to Meridian. We're forever in your debt, and thank you so much. We look forward to his continued service in other regards. We know he's not going away. He's just going to be wearing a different hat. So, Marge, Rod, Michelle, and certainly Keith, thank you so much for everything you've done to this community. Okay. Now, any other comments? We gave those last month. So now, on to the new. It is a new year and a new candidate filling this seat. And so at this time, I will ask Trey Burnt to come forward, as well as whoever you would like to hold the Bible for you.
Raise your hand. Are you ready? Okay. Please repeat after me. I, Trey Burnt, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
that I will support the laws of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Idaho,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Idaho,
and the ordinances and policies of the City of Meridian, Idaho,
and the ordinances and policies of the City of Meridian, Idaho,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of City Council of Meridian, Idaho,
and I will faithfully perform the duties of City Council in Meridian, Idaho,
to the best of my ability during the continuance of my term.
to the best of my ability during the continuance of my term.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Councilman Burnt, you have some remarks.
Yes. Well, first off, I want to say thank you. Thanks to Keith and his legacy. This is the big shoes to fill. I'm just wondering how many times the mayor is going to refer to me as Mr. Bird instead of Mr. Burnt. I'm assuming that's going to last a while. And for the record, I'm completely okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to thank the citizens of Meridian for electing me to this position. Time to get to work. I'm really grateful for the opportunity. Thank you to especially my family who are here, who have supported me throughout this process. It's been a learning experience, and I'm very grateful, really grateful for the opportunity. So thank you so much.
Now, so I forgot to ask Mr. Borton to introduce his family that came up with him.
Certainly. My wife, Sharon, former Parks and Rec Commissioner, and my youngest son, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And so I will ask Mr. Burnt if he would introduce his family too.
Pleasure. Thank you. My wife, Tiffany, my son, Cole, and my daughter, Bridget, my daughter, Annie, and my parents are actually here, Ken and Renee Burnt, and my brother, Jared Burnt.
Well, we could tell who your brother was. He has that same gait, you know, that you have, so
Right.
he was easy to pinpoint.
Right.
Well, Trey, it's wonderful having you on board. You bring a breadth of experience and fresh perspective. This is a new role, and if you fill this new role like you have filled every other role, we know that you will do great work, and we're excited to have you on here.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Seat 6, Luke Kavanagh. If Luke, Mr. Kavanagh, Councilman Kavanagh, if you'll please join the clerk at the podium as well, along with your family.
Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Luke Kavanagh,
I, Luke Kavanagh,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Idaho,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Idaho,
and the ordinances and policies of the City of Meridian, Idaho,
the ordinances and policies of the City of Meridian, Idaho,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of City Council of Meridian, Idaho,
and I will faithfully perform the duties of City Council member in the City of Idaho, City of Meridian, Idaho,
to the best of my ability during the continuance of my term.
to the best of my ability during the continuance of this term.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
And Gunnar, you are a rock star. It's always the family in the background that you can depend on. Gunnar had your back.
Without a doubt.
Mr. Kavanagh, would you like to introduce your support system and
Sure.
have any remarks?
I'd love to. In the back is my amazing mother, Jolene. My father, Alan, I think stepped out to say hello to somebody. I have my two amazing boys, Gunnar, my 10-year-old,
Lincoln, the baby who's been entertaining everyone tonight, my incredibly remarkable, caring, supportive, and knockout of a wife, Adrian, is with me here tonight as well. I'm very grateful to have my family here tonight. So, thank you. Just a couple of quick comments, if I may. I know the hour is near. But I, too, wanted to echo Councilmember Borton and Burnt's comments and thanking our amazing community for their support. I love campaigning. I love knocking doors and hearing from our citizens, hearing the things that our community loves about Meridian, and I even love hearing the things that our community would love to see us improve. And we are so blessed as a city to have so many amazing citizens, 3 of which were appointed to serve here tonight, and I'm just so thankful for the amazing people that we have in our community. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my family. Again, those of us that are up here know what the family members know, that running for office is never easy and is never successful without a strong support system. And so I'm very thankful that I have a great family who supports me as well. Equally, I've learned that this campaign is about your friends and those that you can trust. And I am so grateful for this amazing council that is up here. Councilmember Borton, Councilmember Palmer, Mayor Tammy, Treg is an amazing friend. Councilmember Byrd, a remarkable source of inspiration and wisdom, and Councilmember Milam, who teaches me things each week about what we need to do to make our community great. You're an amazing friend, and I'm so grateful that we have you on our council. I have some amazing friends that I'd be remiss if I didn't thank. Dave Brown, an amazing citizen. Aviva Saki, a caring Meridian resident. Marcos Green, someone who just has a heart for Meridian. And lastly, I'd like to thank our incredible city employees who day in and day out make us look way better than we deserve. And many of them are here tonight and put in late hours and early mornings and respond to emails that come from council at odd hours of the evening, and you do it with such grace and class. We're truly a world-class organization, and so thank you to the many employees for all you do to make our community great. And on that, I think it's time for us to get to work.
Well said. Item 10B is election of city council officers.
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Milam.
this will be done all in one, yes?
No, it's
2
usually
separate
done
ones?
one at a time.
Okay. I would like to nominate Joe Borton as city council president.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to elect Joe Borton as city council president. Would you accept that nomination?
Would be honored. Yes.
Do I have any other nominations? If not, I will close the nominations. We do have a motion and a second to nominate Joe Borton as council president. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh?
Aye.
Councilmember Milam?
Aye.
Councilmember Burnt?
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer? Aye. Councilmember Borton?
Aye.
All ayes.
Thank you, Joe. Madam Mayor,
Ms. Milam.
I would like to nominate Luke Kavanagh for council vice president.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to nominate Luke Kavanagh as vice president. Do you accept that nomination?
I do, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I have a motion and a second to nominate Luke Kavanagh as vice president. Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Milam?
Aye.
Councilmember Burnt?
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer? Aye. Councilmember Borton?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Aye.
It's all ayes, motion carried. Congratulations to you both. Okay, item 11, any items under future meeting topics? Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion to close or to adjourn.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move to adjourn the meeting this evening.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes.